a Dredfunn original production. Please sit back and enjoy.
Alright guys, another episode of Dredfunn Draws. Today our subject is going to be Deadpool! That's right, the Merc with a mouth. I'm going to basically do kind of the original Deadpool, not the Ryan Reynolds Wade Pool, or Deadpool, sorry, Wade Pool. Anyway, so yeah, I'm just going to work on that. What you're going to need is a pencil, some Micron pens, or any kind of pen that you like that can do some fine detail. I got a 05 and a 01, as well as a nice Sharpie for certain dark areas. Alright, let's get to business. So yeah, like always, you want to lay out the design. Unlike with Spider-Man, who is a teenager, the Merc with the mouth is a big fella. So I believe he's 6'2" and about 210 to 215 pounds. So pretty much your classic superhero build. You know what? We're going to switch it up a little bit. I'm going to sort of turn him a little bit. So we're going to lay out a head here. Rough design, and then kind of the spine. And we'll sort of my classic Dorito. So with this, we're kind of, it's more like a skeletal structure. Put some feet over here, and then this foot will sort of put like that, because the Merc with the mouth has got attitude. We're not going to get too complicated. Show where the shoulders go, where the shoulder hinges into the arm. And maybe we'll, I see him a lot of times doing a thumbs up, so set that up and maybe just put this arm straight down, because it'll be a nice contrast, and I can show you how to do the different muscles in those areas. Alright, so I'm going to just adjust my page here so he's more front and center. There we go, it's a little better. A little more crooked, but what are you going to do? Alright, here we go. That should be good enough. Actually, we'll move him up a bit. Alright, so you got yourself a nice little skeletal structure, and from here, what I like to do, like this, a lot of times if I'm doing this type of comic work or filmed work, I'll actually have this part done off to the side, and from there, I'll sort of almost eyeball it and fill in this next part. When you do these things so often, you can get kind of used to them. And we're also going to try to keep this in under 30 minutes. So here we go. Because his head's going to be slightly turned, I'm going to sort of make a mark where his ear is, even though Deadpool doesn't generally, you can't really see the ear because of the mask. And then the shoulders, into the delts, the bicep, the pec line over here. Same thing kind of here, and you're just sort of adding your musculature to the character. Not really going too crazy on the detail, just filling it in. So you can already see that because of the way that I've got the spine underneath here, it kind of turns. So when it comes down to the hips here, this leg is going to go more like that. The calf muscle will be more on a side angle almost, and then this foot will be almost slightly back, and then this one will be flung forward, almost like it's well, not really forward, it'd actually be back, but the foot is placed slightly forward, and then back on this arm here. The forearm, rough idea where the fingers are going to go, and the thumb, which I already don't like that thumb. You don't want it to go like this, and if you have a hard time, just look at your own thumb. Okay, let's see. There we go. Perfect. I think that works. So, nice basis here. Now, Deadpool has a pretty simplistic mask, very similar to a Spider-Man mask. But what I like to do, just so I don't mess things up, is sort of make a mark roughly where I'm going to put the eyes. And because there's no mouth or no nose like Spider-Man, you don't really have to get too much into doing too much detail in there right now. I mean, some artists will depict it. In certain instances, you can have a highlight of a smile. Depends on where you feel most comfortable. But for me, I'm just going to sort of highlight the cheekbone and come up in here where the ear would be. Now, I'm going to go ahead and start adding in the costume part. And he's got a kind of like a little neck guard that goes around his throat. It's got, well, we're going to go, you know what, we'll go all classic. We'll add the Ryan Reynolds one, the sort of equipment that he wears goes over the shoulders, kind of, and come across, but with this, just going to go with the classic that sort of attaches to the belt in a side view there, or like a side angle. And then it actually comes back over this shoulder. And sometimes it'll have a little padded area there. And then he might have some buckles and maybe a pouch or something. As well, I'm going to detail some squares here for where I'm going to throw some pouches in later. And then also, I'm going to show him with the classic gloves. I already noticed something there. That hand is a little bit too long, or that arm was a little bit too long, so we're going to have to redo that whole thing. And a rough spot for the fingers. Again, trying to keep this in under 30 minutes. So now he's got like the red part, and then this part here sort of kind of either buckles in or buckles out, depending on how you want to draw it. I'm going to go this way, that way, then sort of bring it down here, and then it catches up on the bottom half, which is the way that the movie version of Deadpool is portrayed as well, but I think it's a little bit slightly different. It doesn't really have any padding on the knees, unlike in the movie where he does, but sometimes he'll have like a leg thing here where, you know, a gun might attach. He's definitely heavily armored. And then just some little ringlet thingies here for the feet. And he usually has little the bottom part of the boot detailed. And then the arm, it's actually pretty much the whole sleeve on this side would just show up like this, and then on this side it's going to buckle down and go like that. Alright, now again I'm just going to add some lines in here for these muscles, like where the shoulder is going to be slightly detailed. There, not too complicated. Now, I'm going to work a bit on the face. Like I said, the only thing you can really see are the eyes, and they're pretty much classic eye slits. Or if you want, you can get creative. We'll do a little creative here. Put one eye all wide and crazy, and the other eye kind of like that. So he's sort of that quizzical Merc with the mouth look. And then the black part, the classic one, with the movie one, it kind of goes up like this, and then he's got a line here, but with the classic one, it's literally like an elongated or exaggerated version of Spider-Man without the black fringe around it. So that's about it for the face. You can also, a lot of artists like to pick them with a little, like it's a loose-fitting mask, and we'll go ahead and throw that in there. Now, this part here, he's got like a buckle in here under the neck. And now you're going to want to like detail most of the accoutrements, the things that fit over top the musculature. Just sort of keep it in mind where everything is. Sort of give him a little pouch there. This will attach underneath this pouch here, which will sort of detail slightly there. And then the belt buckle, split it in half. One half has got that, and you got yourself your Deadpool face. You just don't throw that line in there when you're done. Now these areas here, they're all going to be dark, where these areas here are going to be red. So if you want, you can go ahead in there and just sort of give yourself a rough guideline of what's going to be darkened and what's not. If you want to spend the time to hyper detail this part, go right ahead. Again, a lot of this stuff we're going to ink on our own, so I mean, you can sort of be a little more limited with what you're going to do here. And this as well, another little trick. You can always add like a little X where you want to mark it off completely. We're going to add some lines where I'm going to go ahead and detail that. Alright, now this thing fits here, and he's got a Deadpool symbol on his hand. And this one goes over here, put a buckle there. And you got yourself a good basis. Now the pants are pretty much all red, so the type of detail you're going to want to show is just slight. If you want, you can throw some lines in there for the creasing. Make sure the calf muscles line up and the ankles are both roughly the same size. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you don't want them having a Hulk ankle on one foot and a slender Spider-Man-esque foot on the other. It would kind of look odd. So here we go. This is a nice little Deadpool. We can go ahead and start detailing now with our pens. So yeah, not too complicated. I mean, if you want, you can go in here and add some more details for where you're going to add the abs. Just keep in mind that this area here is dark, whereas compared to red. So you want to keep that in mind as you're getting ready to sort of detail the rest of this. Alright, here we go. You know what, why not? We'll throw a couple, maybe a grenade in here. He likes his grenades in some sort of weird canister of some kind. I don't know what could be, maybe an explosive canister. We'll throw one sort of hanging off the back. And last but not least, forgot, you're going to need a ruler. Want to mark a line. You can go all the way through if you want, so you can get this kind of right where they would show up. He's got two katanas on his back. The original Deadpool, I believe they were more like large knives or another kind of sword. So there you go. You got a nice rough go for what you want to detail with the pens. So now I'm going to take the thick pen, the 5, and I'm going to start the farthest point, working my way over. I'm not going to care too much about smudging. I kind of know where we're going to go, and like I said, I want to keep this under 30 minutes. Alright, we're going to do the hand, and you want to detail the thumb, which bends kind of like that. This part of the palm goes there. The first finger is usually that shape. You got another one, almost like sausages, kind of. I said this guy's about 6'2", 200 pounds, so fairly big. This is a red glove, so he's going to have fairly big hands. And then this part is kind of like sort of like a glove. Alright, we're going to then come back and pull down on the shoulder, nice and rounded, the bicep rounding up and under here, and then the forearm coming back like that. Said again, it's where anatomy comes in and helps. The chest line, this line here until we get down to here, and just keeping in mind where it is you're detailing and what it is you're detailing. Alright, we got a pouch over here. Throw kind of like that. Show the back angle and the belt. You don't want to get too highly detailed with the thicker pen. I mean, you can if you want. There's no set rules. Everything works, but nothing works forever. You know, eventually, or for everything. Okay, I'm going to go in here and do the belts that sort of straddle his chest. Nice, clean flowed lines. Not worrying too much about detailing the buckles. I mean, in the more modern version with Ryan Reynolds, he's got all kinds of cool stuff. I'm going to come up here and actually do the head now. Just the outline. Excuse me. I do like a lot of artists that depict Wade with more of a cartoonish type of look. I like all artistic and interpretations of all the characters. I like to see how different artists approach it, what they would like to do. Like, I mean, McGinnis, I believe, was my first exposure to Deadpool, and that was like the original Deadpool issue 1. I mean, he'd been in other comics before, but it was his first big time release on his own with Sasquatch from Alpha Flight. And that particular artist always draws his characters buff and rather thick. Okay, now coming down in here, doing the legs, keeping in mind where each of the muscles go. Like I said, if you're confused about what these muscles are and where they go and how they correlate to comic books, pick up an anatomy book. Heck, you don't even have to do that anymore. Just go on Google. Alright, bring this quad muscle down here and then the knee joint there. And again, this, we're not working too much on filling in all the little things. This is just a sort of a rough outlining with the pen, keeping it nice and fluid. Come in here and do the lats. And there we go. Draw the swords on the back. Nice even lines. Okay, now I'm gonna go in here and we're gonna detail the face. Alright, well, the head and the mask. Again, this part is elongated Spider-Man type shape. And I'm gonna have a little line here and a little area here that I'm actually gonna leave out. Show a little crease in the mask. And maybe show a line here or two and some creases. Same on this side, not too much. If you want, you can throw in the Ryan Reynolds thing. It's up to you. It all works. A lot of times these parts of the belt that run across this chest are drawn and then colored brown, so I like that contrast with the black, giving it almost like a feel of leather. Same kind of technique, you just sort of show these band lines here, giving the illusion of having it around it. Because it's a sword, you don't have to be perfect. Oftentimes the band will be wrapped kind of loosely. Alright, and if you want, you can go in here and do some single line hatching to detail certain areas that are going to be shaded or colored later. Alright, and remember, this part of the costume is the black part, and this part inside is the red. So you make or break your character in this part here. And another thing you can do to sort of give it the illusion of going across muscle instead of just a straight line. See how I've dipped it over top of these muscles that are going to come down here. Alright, now again, just a nice loose detailing under here, not too much. These areas are all going to be done in black. Where the chest would go, like that. If you want, I mean, you can detail that all in black. Some artists have done that where they'll only show very little of Wade's actual body in those lines. So again, gonna have some hatching here, some single line work. Don't want to get too detailed. You can go in here and sort of add some creases in the glove. And then again, this part is in the red, so I'm not going to be darkening that in a moment with my marker, so you can just sort of kind of finely, lightly sort of detail the muscles, and you can add some lines here to indicate depth and shade. And over here, this part where the first part of the muscle's going to be shown is actually going to be in dark. Come around, and then this part, all these areas are going to be darkened in a moment. Do that. Then this muscle comes over here, the triceps. Again, like when it comes to comic book characters and the realism of their clothing, quite often it's almost like they're pretty much naked. I mean, there's not much there. I mean, some artists will will show lines, they'll come back, and I could show you that stuff later, but we won't get too complicated. They'll come back and add white lines to indicate the illusion of depth and illusions of reflections, and you can do all kinds of neat things that help out a drawing and make it all that it needs to be. Alright, so again, he's got his face depicted on the belt. Because this part is going to be pretty much small, I'm just going to worry about darkening it in with my pencil or my pen. You know, you can add all kinds of things to this. Maybe show some shading, some highlights on the canister. You know, you want to have a good contrast. You don't want too much because you don't want it to be too muddled, but at the same time, I mean, you want enough detail that you're conveying what needs to be conveyed in the artwork. Drop my ruler. Alrighty. Now we're just going to finish up here. Do this part, which is also going to be darkened. If you want, you can sort of add a line here that doesn't darken, and then usually has a line down this part where the leather will crinkle up underneath the crotch area. Throw some musculature for the legs, the calf muscle here, the front part of the shin bone, which is going to be slightly in a different position. As you can see, we can see more of this part of the calf. So this part of the knee will be depicted instead of the side part of the knee. So good practice is just draw a lot of stuff in different positions, like some of your favorite characters. Draw them from different angles and different positions, and do it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. It'll definitely help you nail down the look that you're going for. So again, these parts are going to be black. I said certain parts there I've left undetailed because I'm going to go in with the black marker in a second and detail that up a little better. Maybe add some cross hatching lines and other random lines across the material. You know, kind of give it that look that it's got some wrinkles to it. Alright, now we're going to go in and take this Sharpie. Oh, that's not a very good Sharpie. I've got to find a better Sharpie. Oh, of course. I thought I was prepared, but like always, not completely. There we go. Alright, time to wrap this up. Okay, these areas here that I've indicated with an X, I'm going to go in and darken. You can use ink pens, you can use an ink and a brush, ink and a quill. I mean, whatever gets the job done. Personally, for these quick little drawings, this will work, but I would never use this to paint over or to add on. Well, never say never. Alright, these areas, this entire area here is going to be darkened. For the upper part there, like I said, that's areas that the colorist can then go in and add reflective lights. It just gives them a lot of options. If you're painting it yourself, it gives you a lot of options. Myself, personally, if I were to paint this, I would not add the blacks until the very end. Just something that I do personally and like. Instead of just darkening this whole thing up, I'm going to darken just a part of it. When you come to the mask, I'm going to darken the areas here. Try to be careful not to mess it up too much like I just did. If you want, bring the line around. One of the reasons why I don't like using Sharpies, I mean, it does give you, for little bits, it gives you a nice even line, but depending on the paper, it can splay out, and I don't like the way that looks. And I also don't like sometimes the way it's just a rather dead looking black. Not a lot of life to it. Not a lot of sheen. And I personally use like a speedball ink with a brush most times, especially for my commission work. Alright, that looks like we're about done. Oh yeah, we got the ankle parts in the boots here. So as you can see, it's coming together nice. Again, these areas are left open because they're going to be detailed in red. These parts here on the feet are actually black. I mean, some artists won't even darken these parts, and it's personally up to you. I mean, nowadays with the coloring programs, you can get neat effects where you can go in and you're not stuck to simple black and all the colors in between. At least the lines. You see that with a lot of animation now. Instead of them having hard dark lines around them, they'll have lighter lines. Alright, we're going to go up here and add a little bit of dark to the hilt of the swords. And there you go. Nice Deadpool in well under 30 minutes, I think. I don't know. Anyways, at the very end here, you can go ahead and erase the pencil. I prefer, like you guys have learned in some of my other ones, these pliable graphite eraser removers, whatever. You can get them at most stores like Michael's, dollar stores, wherever. They work pretty good. You don't get any shavings anywhere or whatever. Oh, look at that. In my haste, I forgot this part here. Here we go. We got to finish up the shoulder. So yeah, if you like this video, don't forget to subscribe and pass it along if you want to help contribute to my ongoing channel and the artwork, or if you want to reach me for a commission, you can get me through Patreon, all that good stuff. So yeah, last thing, sign your work. Boom. So in honor of the forthcoming Deadpool 2 with Cable, this is my latest Dredfunn draws. The Merc with Mouth, Deadpool. Dredfunn out.
This has been a Dredfunn.com production. Thanks for watching.